Hello everybody, my name is Tim Powell. I'm a supervising architect with the Division of State Architect representing our Sacramento Regional Office. I'm here today to go over what DSA's role is in career technical education and with respect to plan approvals, and we'll jump right into it. Just a brief overview of what we do, the projects that require DSA approval, what type of projects they are, what the plan review approval process consists of, the construction oversight process, and then final certification of the project. Projects requiring DSA approval. This is not necessarily specific to career technical education, but it does fall into this category. Any project on a school site that is new construction has to come through DSA for review and approval. There are any additions, new buildings, and alterations to existing buildings and facilities, which also includes site work. Relocations of modular buildings, the portables that you see everywhere all over the school sites nowadays. Reconstruction projects, which basically are like fire projects. If there's a fire on a site, they reconstruct it to the existing condition that it was originally built to, with the exception of accessibility upgrades. And rehabilitation projects, which is basically when they're taking, say a school district was to buy a strip mall or something like that that was a non-certified building, never came through DSA. That's the process they have to go through in order to try and make it a Field Act or a conforming building to be able to use it for a school project. There are some exemptions from DSA review. Small alteration projects that are, and it's based on the project construction cost. Right now it's anything under $100,000 is exempt from review, but it still must fully comply with all code provisions, and the district has to make sure that they have licensed professionals preparing the plans. Anything between $100,000 limit and $225,000 can be exempted if there is no structural work involved, no accessibility related work, or work that triggers accessibility upgrades, and the work meets all fire and life safety standards. We have an interpretive regulation, an IR, that speaks to all that. It's DSA IR A-10. If you're uncertain about it, contact your local DSA Regional Office and we can either have a meeting or cover it through email or phone and kind of give you an idea of what you're up against. Now, the plan review and approval process. DSA reviews the design for compliance with building regulations for structural safety, fire life safety, accessibility, energy standards, and now, since the drought, we do what's known as the Model Water Efficiency Landscape Ordinance. Sometimes we'll hear it called MWELO. And then the construction documents must show all work, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, civil, everything has to be, that's involved in the project has to be submitted. We highly recommend that early on in a project, especially if it's a large project or a complex project at all, to schedule a preliminary review meeting. This helps us, helps the district, helps the architects, everybody involved. This should take place early in the design development phase. You don't have to have completed drawings. It's better off if you don't have completed drawings, if you're still in the early design phases. And the way it typically happens, the architect will contact DSA Regional Office. We have forms on our website particular to the Sacramento Regional Office. Ours would be a DSA-92 form, but there's one for each one of the regional offices, and that is basically a preliminary review meeting request form. You email that in, we take a look at it, and then we turn around and schedule a meeting and send out a meeting invite for the architect. We highly encourage school district representatives to attend because they get firsthand knowledge of what the discussions are. The preliminary review meetings give us a chance to identify design problems prior to completion of plans when it comes to a significant problem to fix. It gives the design professionals a chance to ask questions, code-related questions, if there's something that they have a question on or not sure if it's fully compliant or not. Gives DSA the opportunity to look at the plans and possibly see if there's any big glaring things that could present a problem later, so that can be identified and taken care of before the actual submittal of the documents. We have a new submittal process. It's been in effect for about 4 or 5 months now. It's called the appointment process, and what that consists of is the design professional will go on our website and download a DSA-1 form, which is our project application form, and the DSA-1 Reg form, which is the registration form. We have a procedure, DSA PR 1703, that's available on our website that speaks to the process on it. The way it works is once the architect or designer of record has the project far enough along that they know about when their submittal date is going to occur, they submit this registration form in the DSA-1, and they have to request a submittal date between 6 and 8 weeks away from their, in other words, they submit it, and between 6 and 8 weeks they pick a date where they're going to submit the drawings and the full package. And it can't be any earlier than 6 weeks, can't be later than 8 weeks, or it won't be accepted. That gives us, as DSA, the opportunity to look at the project and determine who, staff-wise, we might would be best suited for the project, and the availability of everybody. It gives us that little window, 6 to 8 weeks away, to be able to determine who we're going to try and shift the project to. When the architect or designer of record submits that DSA-1 registration form, DSA, our project services or business services, will then open a project box on the DSA box, and they will issue an application number and notify all the clients that are listed on the application, which would be the designer of record and generally the superintendent of the school district and facilities director. And then that will let them know what the project has been accepted, what the application number is. And within 1 week, the project design professional will be expected to upload to the box. There will be a file set up under that application number, what we call scope definition drawings. And what that is basically your early drawings, not your full project submittal documents, but enough scope drawings so that we as supervisors can take a look at it, download it, and make a determination on how long we think the project will take to review, and that will also give us an idea what the scope is so we can determine which one of our staff members might be best suited for that project. You don't have to submit any fees or drawings at the time of the registration. That all comes at the date that you select, 6 to 8 weeks away. Once that date gets here, you'll submit the fees. The design professional will submit the fees, plan review fees, and the complete submittal package on the date that they listed on the DSA-1 registration form. That's very important. It needs to be on that date. We are currently giving 1 day leeway either way, and potentially, because our region is very big, if we have clients in Redding or far northern California or Visalia or Fresno where they're not local and they're just going to be bringing the project submittal documents down where they have to ship it, there's always that potential that the shipper may have a day extra in there that they're not, accounted for, and we don't hold that against them in that case. So, but it needs to be pretty much right on the date that you designate, because that's when we're going to have somebody available to start working on it. If the project is submitted after that date, then it will be rejected and returned, and you have to sign up and go through the 6 to 8 week wait period again. Make sure that it's a complete package that's submitted on the appointment date, which consists of 3 complete sets of plans and specs, 1 for each discipline, a geologic hazards report and soils report, if that is required for the project, structural calculations, site drawings signed by the local fire authority approving fire access, gates, fire flow, and hydrants, and a site plan to show all the accessible path of travel amenities for the site and building accessibility. You'll also need to submit your energy compliance documentation The DSA application form, which is the DSA-1 that you emailed in, or the design professional emailed in as a part of the early registration, and we need to see a hard copy sent in with the documents when you actually submit it. And at that point, if there are any revisions, you need to have it made then. There's the DSA 3 form is required. That's a plan submittal checklist. And then, of course, the plan review fees. We don't do much of anything on it until we get the check. At that point, once the submittal comes in, the intake and plan review process actually starts. The intent is to begin within 5 working days of the receipt of the complete package to start the review, which would be initially our intake review, to verify that the plans are complete for review and all required documents are supplied. If there's anything that's missing, it would be considered an incomplete submittal, and that would kick the project out of line. You'd have to start all over again as well. Once it's deemed complete, the district and the architect will be notified by email with a notice of progress form, and that will list the project's application number, which was previously assigned, the date that the plan review would start, which under our new process should be just about the date that you're getting the letter, if we're starting within 5 days. And then there'll be a referral to our tracker, the website link for monitoring the project status. The 3 reviews will be done concurrently. That's why we ask for 3 separate sets. The structural, fire life safety, and accessibility all will be done individually. Each of the 3 check sets, then once they are reviewed and the supervisor overview is completed, will be returned to the architect, and these will not necessarily be at the same time. As each individual discipline completes it and the supervisor reviews it, it will go out. So there could be, depending on the size and scope of the project, there could be weeks sometimes between the time you get one submittal or the other if it's a very large project. The tracker, which the link would be included in that email that everybody would get, indicates the status of each review. You look it up under the application number, and it'll give you an idea of the percentage complete the project is for all 3 of the disciplines, and it will also include when the review is complete and returned to the architect. At that point, the design professional team will review all 3 of the check sets. They'll get together with their sub-consultants, the other design professionals on the team, and review all the DSA comments. They will address the comments, put all the sets back together, and they'll make all the needed revisions to plans and any supporting documents that are required. At that point, once it's all complete, the architect then schedules what we call a backcheck appointment, which is a face-to-face. They bring the sets and the check sets in and actually do a final approval face-to-face. As I stated, they bring it in, the amended sets and all 3 of the check sets for backcheck. The architect and engineers must provide experienced staff, if they don't come themselves to the backcheck appointment, that are capable of making decisions and modifying the drawings if needed, if all the comments weren't properly addressed. If that doesn't occur, then the meeting will be terminated and they will have to schedule a new backcheck meeting when there are staff involved that can make the decisions and make the changes if necessary. DSA staff at that point during the backcheck appointment will review all the amended drawings and the 3 check sets. Each of the 3 discipline reviewers will do it individually, and they will check for verification of code compliance and final plan approval. Once that plan approval is done, all 3 of the reviewers have determined that all the comments have been picked up and everything looks good, then we will apply the identification stamp that everybody is looking for on the project. That's the final plan approval of the documents. Once those project documents are all stamped out and approved, Then the architect arranges for an independent reproduction company to come in and pick up the approved drawings. They will take them back to their business and scan and provide an electronic record set of the plans and specifications to DSA. At that point, once we receive that electronic version, then the original approved drawings are released to the architect, and DSA will issue a final plan approval letter. The date of that approval letter is the official DSA plan approval date, which initiates your time frame to get the project under construction. Now, for modular school buildings, or as everybody calls them, portables or relocatables, we have an over-the-counter process. And the over-the-counter is based on previously approved buildings. And so all we have to do in that process then is look at site conditions, access compliance. We look at the path of travel, existing toilets that they're accessible. Fire life safety looks for distances, separations between buildings, fire alarms, fire sprinklers if it's required depending on the use of the building. Structural safety, we'll look at it to verify snow loads, wind loads, all the seismic loads match with the area that the building is going in. And then the energy issues are also looked at to make sure that the building was designed for the climate zone that it's being located in. The projects are generally reviewed and stamped out in one day. That's why we call it the over-the-counter. And the building drawings are what we call PCs, which are pre-checked buildings already previously approved, so we shouldn't have to look at the building itself, just the siding. Then we begin the construction oversight process. The district must hire a DSA certified project inspector. The inspector provides personal, continuous inspection of all the construction work. The inspector is hired by the school district, but is approved by DSA for each project. District also has to hire a DSA-approved testing laboratory, and we have DSA Field Engineers that make periodic visits to the job site, meet with the inspector, walk the job, make sure everything is being built according to the approved plans, and see if there are any issues that are coming up that need to be addressed. The architect and engineer on the project will also need to be present and do the construction oversight, because they have to, at the end of the project, sign a final verified report stating that under penalty of perjury they have observed and know that the project has been built to the approved plans and specifications. Certification process. This is DSA's final role in the project certification. As Chet likes to say, certification starts when construction begins. The basis for certification is, like I mentioned before, the verified reports that will state that the work has been performed in compliance with the DSA-approved construction documents. And those have to be submitted by the project inspector, the architects and engineers on the project, the testing laboratories, and the contractor involved in the project. At that point, once all the documentation is received and there are no outstanding change orders or anything involved in the project that would hold it up, then DSA will issue a certification letter. And it states that this project is in compliance with the California state regulations as to the safety of design and construction of public schools and for the accommodation of persons with disabilities. And that pretty much takes care of DSA's role in the project. We have some resources available on our website if anybody needs to, or we always invite phone calls or emails to supervisors or the manager, or anybody that you'd like to get a hold of. All the contact information is on our website. Thank you very much.